Today we will be discussing about Introduction to Pediatric Dentistry, or we also call it as Pedodontics. So we will be discussing with these contents: definition of pediatric dentistry, what is age specific specialty, what does it mean exactly, what is the importance of pediatric dentistry, scope of pediatric dentistry, most common dental diseases in children, and how we establish comprehensive dental care in children, and what are the different types of treatment do we follow in primary teeth. So these are some of the things what we'll be discussing. We'll be introducing you this subject. Now, all of us know the dentistry. You know different branches of dentistry. Now, what is specialty in this pediatric dentistry? Now, most of the dental specialties focuses primarily on dental, oral, as well as maxillofacial region. So, when we see other specialties, the pediatric dentistry also share some common basis when we compare it to other specialties. So it focuses or encompasses on variety of disciplines, techniques, procedures, as well as skills. It is very most common, very similar to other specialties only. But we are going to slightly modify depending upon the children. Depending upon the children dentition, we are going to modify those common things what we are sharing with other specialties. So what we are modifying and in whom we are modifying. So in infants, children, adolescents, as well as special healthcare people. Now, what do you mean by special healthcare people? They are medically compromised, those who have some medical conditions associated with them, or physically disabled children. Means those who can't walk or hear or see, those people are considered as special care, as well as mentally retarded children. So we deal up all these things in this specialty. Now coming to the general thing, Robert Bunon is considered as the father of pediatric dentistry. Now this pediatric dentistry is one of the most important branches of dentistry. This word is derived from a Greek word, that is, it consists of pes as well as dontics. Now, pes means child, dontics means study of tooth. So, we consider this as pedodontics, means study of tooth in children is considered as pedodontics or pediatric dentistry. Now, when we talk about this is the most important definition which we are supposed to remember. Now, everybody would have felt that how to remember this big definition. Now, if you see the slide, there are three things which you are supposed to remember, which I am marking it here. I have written as 3 key points to remember. If you remember these 3 points, the above definition is very simple. Now, what are those 3 points to be remembered? That is primary and comprehensive, preventive and therapeutic, oral health care. In whom we are supposed to give this oral health care? In infants, children, adolescents, special health care people. Now I'll come to in detail about what is infant, children, adolescents in the next slide. Now, keeping these 3 points in mind, if you check out the definition, it is an age defined specialty because we are dealing this until a particular age. So it's an age defined specialty that provides both primary and comprehensive, preventive and therapeutic, what? Oral health care in infants, children, adolescents, and special health care needs. So you are supposed to remember these 3 key points and add one more word is age defined specialty. If you remember these 3 points and the age defined specialty, the definition is finished. It is a very easy definition. You are supposed to remember these 3 points. So we'll repeat the definition. It is an age defined specialty that provides both primary and comprehensive, preventive and therapeutic oral health care for infants and children through adolescence, including those with special health care needs. This is the definition which is given by American Academy of Pediatric Dentistry in 1999. This is the most standard definition of the pediatric dentistry. Now, we said that infants, children, adolescents. So, what are they basically? So, as we deal with age defined specialty, Stone and Church have categorized them into various categories depending upon the ages. So, if you see the table, okay, that if from birth to 28 days, we consider as newborn, till 15 months, we consider as infant. 15 months to 2 years, we consider the child as toddler. 2 to 6 years, we consider them as preschool child. 6 to 10 years, school age or middle year children. And for boys, 14 to 60 years, we consider them as adolescents. And for girls, 10 to 14 years is considered as adolescents. So to repeat this, the child we consider as newborn from birth to 28 days. Till 15 months, we consider the child as infant. 15 months to 2 years, we consider it as toddler. 2 to 6 years, we consider as preschool child. 6 to 10 years, we consider it as school age or middle year. For boys, 14 to 16 years, we consider them as adolescents. And girls, 10 to 14 years as adolescent. So, it's an age-defined specialty. So, we treat the child until 14 years of age. Okay, this is what you are supposed to know. Now, what is the difference between a general practitioner or a periodontist? Now, what is the basic difference? If you see, basically it is a general dental practitioner who is ideally suited to attend overall all the needs of the family related to the oromaxillofacial region. It is a general practitioner, but there are specific problems which are considered by the general practitioner in dealing with the child. Now, what are those specific problems where the general practitioner face difficulties? That is managing the child. So depending upon the development of the child, there are some things we should consider. We should know what is the development of the child and understanding the complexities of growth and development. As the child is growing, the oromaxillofacial region is also developing. So we should know this transition between depending upon the ages. So these two issues, that is the child management and the complexities of growth and development, makes the pediatric dentistry in its own right, or it gains the importance of pediatric dentistry. So you should remember the two specific problems which are faced by a general practitioner with the child is child management and understanding the complexities of growth as well as development. Now coming to the importance of pediatric dentistry. Now what is the importance of this? Why should we know this? Now, the first main importance is to create not only a good patient, but also a good citizen for tomorrow. We are supposed to not only we are motivating him for its oral hygiene or anything, but we are also responsible for his good behavior in the future. We are supposed to instill a positive attitude and behavior in the child with respect to the oral health care. We are supposed to instill the positive attitude towards this. Introduce and implement the principles of preventive dentistry from birth. So as soon as the child is born, we are supposed to try to introduce and implement the importance of preventive dentistry. We are supposed to guide the parents, counsel them. Counsel them means make them to understand various treatment modalities and various ways of preventive dentistry which are available for them, so that their child is there is less problem in their oral health care. So the next importance is early diagnosis of disease and its treatment. For imagine the child comes to us very early, and if we see any carious lesion or any other problems, So we diagnose it very early and it is very easy to do the treatment very early. Restore the lost tooth structure to maintain the tissue harmony between hard as well as soft tissues. Now, if there is a broken down teeth, now the child will be having a lot of issues like for chewing, for speaking or anything. Now, if we restore the lost tooth structure by doing restoration or providing any the proper treatment part, so we are helping him for restoring the harmony between the hard as well as the soft tissues. Occlusal guidance and early treatment of developing malocclusion. So as we said that there is a complexities in the child growth and development. There are various things we are supposed to remember when the child is growing. So if you know this, if the child is having any occlusion related issues, so we'll be able to deliver the treatment as early as possible so that the oral dentition is very proper. Supervision of orofacial growth and development. As we said that the pediatric dentistry deals with special healthcare people, so managing physical disabled, mentally subnormal and medically compromised children. The most important thing is sedation, pharmacological management and hospital dentistry. Now we said that a toddler or an infant, okay, so in these children it is very difficult for us to communicate with the child because the child does not understand at all. So in those conditions the pharmacological management and hospital dentistry comes into existence. We do treat the children under general anesthesia. So those all things compromises of the pediatric dentistry. This is what we are supposed to know, the importance of pediatric dentistry. Now moving to the next slide, what is the scope of pediatric dentistry? What all we are interested, what is the scope of this? If you see, there's a varied scope of pediatric dentistry. We can touch in all the areas of dentistry, restorative, endodontics, periodontics, preventive orthodontics, surgery, special care dentistry, that is, which deals with special health care, preventive dentistry. So all these things are the scope of dentistry. So it is a wide area to learn pediatric dentistry. Now, what should we know? The main thing is the old paradigm. What is the old concept here? The first they used to say that the child's first dental visit should occur at the age 3 because all the primary dentition or the deciduous dentition gets completed at this age. But what is the new concept? The child's first visit will occur at the time of the first the tooth which is erupting, means the first tooth erupts at the age of 6 months. So that is the time where the child should visit the dentist, or no later than 12 months of age or no later than the first birthday. So maximum within 1 year the child should visit the dentist for a regular checkup. This is the new concept for pediatric dentistry. Now, there are two things which we are supposed to remember here. That what we call it as anticipatory guidance or counseling. These are the two most important things for the dental visit. Now, what is this anticipatory guidance? It is very simple. Okay, anticipatory guidance is a process of providing practical, developmentally appropriate information about children's health to prepare parents for the significant physical, emotional, and psychological milestones. Now, milestones means what? Whenever the child is developing, whenever the child is growing, there are a lot of changes what we see in the child. That is the eruption of the tooth, the child starting walking, the child speaking, all these things we consider as milestones. So we are supposed to provide the information to the parents regarding all these developmental changes so that the parents are well prepared to understand what type of treatment or what has to be observed in their child's oral cavity. So the anticipatory guidance is used to provide early dental intervention. If we are able, if the parents visit to the dentist at the first birthday or when the first tooth is erupted, we can be able to explain, we can able to describe them what is important, what we are supposed to take care, how we can prevent the child from dental caries, what are the different types of oral health care we can provide to the child as soon as the first tooth erupts. And the same thing can be followed. So this is what we say anticipatory guidance. So anticipatory guidance is used to provide early dental intervention. Now, one thing what we are supposed to remember here is the first point, the early dental visit to establish a dental home. Now we are introducing something called as dental home. What is this dental home? Is it a dental clinic or what? So it is totally different. It is not a dental clinic. What we is meant by dental home now? Now, so we are supposed to initiate a foundation for lifetime preventive education as well as oral health care. So when we want to initiate a lifetime preventive education as well as oral health care, so this what we call it as a dental home. So the dental home is an ongoing relationship between the dentist and the patient, inclusive of all aspects of oral health care delivered in a comprehensive, continuously accessible, coordinated, and family centered way. So, it is a relationship between the dentist as well as the patient. The mediators here are the parents because the child can't understand what we are saying. So, we can also say that it's a relationship between the dentist and the patient or the parent regarding the oral health care which can be delivered in all the possible ways. So this is what we call it as dental home. So the dental home should be established no later than 12 months of age, which includes referral to dental specialist when appropriate. Means if the patient comes to you and there is some significant problem we are coming across. So we can refer it to various specialties or take the opinion of different specialties and provide a comprehensive and continuously accessible, coordinated and family centered dental treatment. This is what is called dental home. Just go through these slides once again when you are free. Now, we said that milestones you are supposed to remember, what we are supposed to. When the patient comes to us at the 12 months of age, whenever the patient comes to us, we are supposed to know what are the different types of milestones the child is having with respect to the oral cavity and general, and what care we should provide to them. So, this child's developmental age range discusses all these things. Now, what are these? If the child developmental age range that is 6 to 12 months means from the first tooth which has been erupted to the first birthday. What are the milestone we come across? The eruption of the first primary tooth. This is the most important milestone what we come across at this period. Now what is the oral development we see here? The pattern of eruption. We are supposed to observe the pattern of eruption here. Reviewing the teething facts. Now whenever a tooth is erupted into the oral cavity, there are a lot of normal physiological changes which is seen with respect to the child's medical condition. They say it is associated with fever or diarrhea. So all these things we are supposed to give the information to the parents so that they are not panicked or they are not afraid of the condition. Now coming to the fluoride. Okay, when we can apply this? Assess the fluoride status with the child, whether where the child is residing, what is the fluoride content in the surrounding area where the child is staying. Determine supplements if needed. If we want to provide more supplements for fluoride, which acts as a remineralizing agent, so if any supplements is required, we can provide them, but we should know to the fluoride status in that particular surrounding area where the child is staying. Now coming to the oral hygiene and health, review the oral hygiene techniques with the caregiver. Who is the caregiver here? The child, the parents are the caretaker here for the child. So you tell them the oral hygiene techniques, how we can take care of the child's tooth. Plan for next visit based upon the risk assessment. Now, if there is some issues which is seen with the development of the child or the eruption of the child, we are supposed to give the next appointment so that we can evaluate the eruption pattern or the oral health care. Now there are something called as habits which we are supposed to note. What are these habits? Now, whenever a child is growing, the child is feeded by the bottled milk also. So when they are removing the bottled milk, we give them the pacifiers. So review the pacifier use. Give the importance of the pacifiers to the children, parents. Discuss thumb sucking effects on the mouth. This is the most commonest thing what we see in children, that is sucking the thumb. They place the thumb in the oral cavity for longer time. So you are supposed to discuss this issue with the parents. Discuss breastfeeding effects on the mouth. So we are supposed to tell them the importance of breastfeeding, until when we are supposed to, when the parent should stop the breastfeeding, until when it has to be continued. That is, until for 1 year of age it has to be given, then slowly it has to be reduced until 2 years of age. When we are reducing, they are supposed to start up with semi-solid foods for the children. Now, nutrition and diet. Encourage weaning at the appropriate time. Introducing the semi-solid foods for the child. Discuss the role of sugar in dental caries initiation. So, whenever they are introducing the semi-solid foods, the sugar content in that has to be reduced, so that they take the oral health care very properly. So, if there is more amount of sugar content and the oral hygiene is not maintained properly, there is a chances of caries occurrence in the children. Now coming to the injury prevention, review what to do if patient has traumatic injury. Because the child is crawling, okay, the child may fall down or may get hurt. So we are supposed to inform them what are the necessities which has to be taken care, and provide emergency number if any such injury happens in their home. Now the same way it is for 12 to 14 months. So we are supposed to discuss about the importance of space maintenance, bruxism, that is grinding of the tooth. So all these things we will be discussing in a detail when you come across this specialty in the fourth year. Now coming to the oral hygiene or the health, review home care procedures and compliance. So in between 12 to 24 months, there are many primary tooth which has erupted. So we are supposed to give importance towards the oral hygiene or the oral health care. So we are supposed to, we are instruct the parents to have a better health care for the child. Now coming to the habits, review non-nutritive sucking. Means if the child is continuing the thumb sucking or the pacifier sucking, we are supposed to guide the parents to stop this habit as early as possible. Now coming to the nutrition and diet, we are supposed to increase the carbohydrate intake so that there is less occurrence of caries. And injury prevention, this is the age where the child tries to explore in the home. That is, there may be chances of exploring the sockets in the house, that is electric sockets. So discuss the electric cord safety, child proofing the house, and use of car seats. So these are the main things which we are supposed to discuss them when they come to the dental home or during the anticipatory guidance. The same way in case of 2 to 6 years. So this is a one major area where the completion of primary dentition takes place and there is an eruption of the permanent tooth. So we are supposed to take care of the oral hygiene as well as health, discuss about the preventive procedures in children, that is sealants, and describe the dental radiographs here. Okay, so in each and every age we are supposed to assess the fluoride status and review the eruption status in the child. Now with the habits, if the child is still sucking the thumb, we are supposed to discuss how to help him out for the breaking of this habit. There are many appliances which are used. There are various ways to stop this habit so that we can discuss it when the parent comes to us. So now injury prevention, encourage the use of helmets, mouth guards and car seats. So the mouth guards are nothing but when the child is playing, the mouth injuries are more. So we should encourage them to use the mouth guards when the child is having any school sports. Develop plans for oral trauma management. You are supposed to discuss with the parents, if any undue accidents happen, how to motivate them when they should approach to the dentist as early as possible. So these are some of the child's developmental age and the milestones what we are supposed to remember. Now coming to the dentition in children, we have we call it as primary teeth or deciduous teeth, or we also call it as milk teeth. We call it as milk teeth because the refractive index of milk and the refractive index of the enamel of the primary dentition is same. So we call it as milk tooth. They are 20 in number. They consist of central incisor, lateral, canine, and first and second molar. There are no premolars in deciduous dentition. There are no premolars in deciduous dentition. The tooth numbering system what we follow here is FDI system or two-digit system. So if you see this, the quadrant has been designated with each number. The quadrant has been like 5, 6, 7, 8. This denotes the quadrant, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 denotes the dentition. That is 1 is central incisor, 2 is lateral incisor, 3 is the primary canine, 4 is the first deciduous molar, 5 is second deciduous molar. Now, if we ask you what is 6, 4, you should be able to tell us that it is an upper left first deciduous molar. Okay, the same way you are supposed to remember for all the dentition. Now this is for the permanent dentition. So it consists of incisors, canine, premolar and molars. So 1, 2, 3, 4 is for the quadrant. The first number is for the quadrant and the second number is for the tooth 1 to 1 to 8. So depending upon the tooth, the numbers have been given there. Now what are the most common dental diseases in children? What we come across? So we call it them as baby bottle caries or early childhood caries. And the most common thing what parent complains is sucking of a finger or thumb. Then the next is trauma and the malocclusion. So now just briefing out with the problems. What is baby bottle caries or nursing bottle caries or early childhood caries? It is basically seen because of prolonged use of a bottle at a bedtime containing cow's milk, breast milk, milk formula, fruit juice or soft drinks. If the child comes in contact for a longer duration, remember we are saying a prolonged use or a longer duration, if these things come in contact with the oral cavity, the child may develop the condition called as baby bottle caries or nursing bottle caries. If you see, the early stages of tooth decay appear as chalky white. Now this is seen once we dry the tooth surface. Later we see a brown or a black staining and the enamel could be eroded or pitted, what we see in these photographs. So these are the initial stages of the early childhood caries. Later on it becomes the advanced carious lesion. The infection may be present in the form of a bubble or abscess on the gum near the decayed tooth. If you see in the picture where I am circling out, we see an abscess. This happens when the early childhood caries crosses the initial stage. So these are some of the things what you should know. Baby bottle caries, what does it mean? When does it occur? The next is sucking of a finger or thumb. This is the most commonest finding in children. This is the most commonest complaint which is given by the parents. There is no evidence that sucking habits can be prevented. So early intervention is usually not recommended. We should know when to start this therapy to stop this breaking habit, to stop this thumb sucking habit. So when the permanent teeth start to erupt at the age of 5 to 6, then only the intervention is indicated. Until then, we can guide the child not to place the thumb, but the intervention is done only after 5 to 6 years. Now, how do we manage it? We use an habit breaking appliance. If you see the thumb sucking, what happens here is there is a open bite because of the thumb sucking. So because of which we can use these habit appliances that is the palatal crypt or a palatal mesh, so that the child does not keep the thumb in the oral cavity. So these things obstruct the thumb to be placed in the oral cavity. Now, the other thing what we see is trauma or fracture of the tooth. Because the child is growing, the child is walking, he is learning to walk, he runs, because of which the child may fall down and may injure his tooth. So, it is most commonly seen during development of the child. So, what we follow here is Ellis and Davy classification for tooth fracture, which is from class 1 to class 9. So if there is any simple fracture, we restore it with composite. Depending upon the type of fracture, we proceed with endodontic therapy or splinting. There are many ways we can manage this. So what you are supposed to know here is, okay, what is the classification and what is the description of the classification? Like it is available, it has been classified from class 1 to class 9. Now coming to the malocclusion, if we guide the child for the eruption guidance, or if the child eruption is proper, then there is no problem. Now, if in the case of mixed dentition where the primary tooth is also there and the permanent tooth are still erupting, okay, and there is an early loss of primary teeth, so because of which there is no space for the developing permanent tooth or the permanent tooth which is coming. If you see the picture here, if you see there is a loss of space because the primary dentition has lost very early. So because of which there is no space for the eruption of the permanent tooth, because of which it may cause a crowding like this. So if the patient comes to us or we very early, so we will be able to provide some kind of space maintenance so that we can keep the space for a longer duration so that the permanent tooth erupts into the oral cavity. Now coming to the last phase of this class, that is the elements of comprehensive pediatric dental care. So this is the way we go with the treatment, that is the patient record, the parent consent, and we do the diagnosis, and the fun thing comes is delivery of dental care. So now discussing about the delivery of dental care, we are supposed to educate the parents and the child for oral hygiene measures. We should do prophylaxis, that is the cleaning of the tooth surface, fluoride therapies, preventive pit and fissure sealants, counseling, the diet, what diet is important for the child to prevent the occurrence of the caries, and preventive recall system. Means once we give a preventive therapy, we are supposed to recall the child so that the child does not have any other new caries occurrence. Now, how do we proceed? We are supposed to encourage the brushing habits, teach them the brushing habits, dental flossing to remove the plaque as well as any food particles in the interdental area. We are supposed to encourage them for brushing habits as well as dental flossing, and then prophylaxis. This is scaling and polishing. So the brushing habits and the dental flossing are home care system. Brushing habits and dental flossing are home care system, whereas the dental care system comes under scaling and polishing. That is, the dentist intervenes to clean the debris or the food particles which is present on the tooth surface or in the interdental area. So we should encourage them. Now coming to the fluoride therapy, there are many types of fluoride therapy. What we follow here is the topical application of fluoride. This is used to prevent demineralization of the tooth enamel and promote remineralization of the tooth surface. Any small initial caries lesion, that is demineralized lesion, can be remineralized back by applying fluorides. Now, what are the different types? What we use? We can use a fluoride gel, varnish, or a fluoride mouthwash, or a fluoride toothpaste. We can guide depending upon the child's understanding and the parents understanding the importance of the preventive protocols. Now, pit and fissure sealants. These are all the preventive procedures. Now, if you remember the normal anatomy of the dental tooth, we say that there are deep pits and fissures on the occlusal surface. So these pits and fissures, basically these pits and fissures, what they do, they are very deep. So whenever the child tries to have something, the food particles may get embedded or fixed in these deep pits and fissures. When the child brushes the teeth, the bristles of the brushes does not clean the tooth surface or any debris which is present in the deep pits and fissures. So in this condition, what we do here is, if we come across a deep pit and fissures, we use pit and fissure sealants. This is what we seal the pits and fissures. So the sealants are clear or shaded plastic material that are introduced into the pits and fissures of caries susceptible teeth, means caries prone teeth, forming micromechanical bond and a protective layer. When we place this, it protects any embedded food particles or plaque into the dental or the deep pits and fissures. Though thereby we will be reducing the occurrence of dental caries. So these pits and fissures sealants can be applied at the age of 3 years, 6 as well as 12 years of age. This is the area where we apply the pits and fissure sealants. Why 3 years? Because at the age of 3 years the primary dentition is completed. At the age of 6 years, the first permanent molars are erupted. As it is an young tooth, they are having deep pits and fissures. We are supposed to protect them for caries occurrence. So we are supposed to seal the pits and fissures in at the age of 6 years with respect to the first permanent molars. And at the age of 12, because the second permanent molars are erupting at this period of time. So we can seal the permanent first molars and the premolars at the age of 12 years. So at the age of 3 years, the primary dentition gets completed. At the age of 6 years, the first permanent molars are erupted. At the age of 12 years, the premolars as well as permanent second molars are erupted. So we are supposed to seal them. So next, moving to the behavior management. If you remember, I had mentioned that the most complicated by a general practitioner is managing the child. How to manage a child? The child is very different. Okay, he may accept the treatment. We are supposed to motivate the child. So we follow some kind of behavior management. We are modifying the behavior of the child when the child is in the dental clinic. How do we do that? Okay, now it's a comprehensive methodology meant to develop a relation between the child patient and the dentist. Why we should maintain this relationship? Because we are supposed to build a trust as well as reducing the fear and anxiety. The child has something fear seeing all the equipments, the dental chair. It is new to him. So the child has some amount of fear in him. Okay, or some amount of afraidness towards the dental treatment. So we are supposed to reduce that fear and anxiety in the child. What are the advantages? Establish effective communication. We can establish a proper discussion with the child. The child gains the child confidence and acceptance for the dental treatment. So we can do the dental treatment for the child by applying different behavior management. Provide a comfortable environment for the dental team to work in. If the child is cooperating well because of the behavior management, it is very good for the dental team to work on the dental patient. Now, what are the different types of techniques what we do? These are the various techniques what we come across. For your reference, you are supposed to know what tell, show, do technique, modeling, positive and negative reinforcement. So distraction. Now tell, show, do. What we do here is we will tell what we are doing to the patient. For example, you know mouth mirror. Okay. So as soon as a child comes to us, we tell the child that this is a mirror. Through the mirror, we see the tooth of the in the child. So you can show the mirror to the child, so the child is free of that tension. Now show to it. Now show his own face in the mirror, or show the dental with the mirror, extra mirror in it, and then do the procedure to him. So for whatever procedure we do, we follow this technique, that is telling what we are doing and showing what we are doing, and then complete the procedure or do the procedure so that the child is free of the fear of the instrument. Now modeling means If you see the picture, one child is already getting the treatment and the other child is observing the treatment. So this is called as modeling. So any fear for the child who is observing is diminished because the other child is taking the treatment comfortably. Now coming to the positive and negative reinforcement. So it is slightly, so what we will discuss that in the, when you come for the uh, pediatric classes. Now distraction is by we use some audio techniques which we ask the child to see the videos in the mobile or on the television or listen to his favorite music so that the child is deviated from what we are doing. Voice control and hand over mouth techniques. These are some techniques which are not advised here. Now, the other things are physical immobilization. Because the child is very small, he may be moving on the dental chair. So, to hold the child in a proper position, we can use these physical immobilization techniques. The next approach is pharmacological approach. What we say is this comes under hospital dentistry, that is the sedation as well as general anesthesia. Now, what are the different types of dental treatment we provide here? So we provide amalgam restorations, composite restorations, or glass ionomer restorations. In children, we use glass ionomer restoration as the most common one because it has got fluoride release and anti-keriogenic property. That is why we use glass ionomer as a main restorative material in case of children. We use strip crowns in case of the anterior tooth. If you see this picture, the tooth has been broken. Now in children it is difficult to get the normal anatomy because the size is very small. So we use these plastic crowns to restore the anterior tooth. So they are called as strip crowns. The other for posterior tooth, we use the stainless steel crowns. So you remember the stainless steel crowns are also full coverage restorations for posterior teeth. They are silver in color and they are also tooth colored. They are called as zirconia crowns. So if you are, there is a slight variation between these two crowns. Okay, one is, this is aesthetic in nature and this is non-aesthetic in nature. Now the other treatment what we do here is the pulp therapies. That is pulp cappings and root canal treatment for primary tooth, or for young permanent tooth, that is a permanent tooth, we do apexification. So just remember these terminologies. So what you should know that what is non-invasive pulp therapy and what are invasive pulp therapy. Non-invasive pulp therapy includes indirect pulp capping and direct pulp capping. Invasive pulp therapy includes pulpotomy, pulpectomy, apexification and apexogenesis. Just remember the terminologies. No need to go in detail about them. Okay. So basically these are non-invasive because we are not entering into the pulp. Invasive pulp therapy means we are entering into the pulp tissue. So that is a basic difference between these two. Okay. So this is the general introduction for your pediatric dentistry. Do you people have any doubts, any concern? You can ask me now. So what you are supposed to remember here is the importance of pediatric dentistry, the definition. Now coming to the definition, I have told you that remember those 3 points: primary and comprehensive, preventive and therapeutic, oral health care for infants, children through adolescence, including special health care. If you remember these 3 points, you are supposed to add as an age defined specialty. That's all. Okay. So if anything is there, you people can contact me anytime. I need to send the presentation. So if you give me the leader email ID or send me the mail ID on this phone number so that I'll be able to send the presentation to you people.